Hello, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Oki, Dr. Godswill Oki. I'm a lecturer and my major is communication. I majored in mass communication with emphasis on public relation advertising, business communication. I've discovered severally in what most businesses lack is the ability to engage in effective communication. And I find out that it's basically because people assume because communication is there, or they can read and write, or they can speak intelligently, that is it. And it affects the communication. Invariably, it affects the performances of the organization. That is why we are introducing this new channel to you, Communication Moments, SMCR. It will be powered essentially by me and any other member of my team as the time goes. We will study different aspects of communication as it affects us. We will look at those areas, those pertinent areas that are important for students, for entrepreneurs, and for those who are generally interested in aspects or issues in communication. But firstly, our focus is going to be on business communication because of what I've said earlier on. A lot of businesses suffer, even individuals and organizations suffer because of not having the knowledge of how to effectively communicate. And that is what this channel will endeavor to handle. Thank you very much. So we are going to, in the following weeks, we are going to look at aspects of business communication as it affects organizations. We'll look at it from three levels. Personal communication. What are those things we are required to do as individuals, employees, or members of a family in an organization? We will look at that because everything about us affects the other individual. We communicate with ourselves, we communicate with our words, we communicate with what we wear, how we smell, how we sit, our facial appearances, our disposition, and all. They all communicate. And invariably, it affects the other person. If we communicate happiness, the other person relaxes and the communication environment becomes fluid and people are able to speak, interact, and share meaning, which essentially is what we intend to achieve whenever we communicate. If we communicate hostility, it also affects interaction. People will no longer be able to go on the defensive. People will even stop hearing you. Not that they will not hear you, they hear you, but for the purposes of that communication, they may switch off. And that means the communication is not effective. This is something we will also try and endeavor to look at. What are those things we need to do in organizations to ensure effective interactions between an individual worker with his colleagues? We are going to look at those things in our dressing, like we pointed out, in how we smell, in our distances, the different distances we are supposed to create, and in our manner of approach, in our body language. All these things matter in business communication. Secondly, we are also going to look at internal communications as it affects businesses. Yeah, it is obvious what internal communications entail. Definitely, in this case, we are talking about our correspondences within ourselves. writing of minutes, writing of memos, yeah, that's memorandum, you know, queries, letters, especially letters, because the letter is that particular communication note that goes out to other organizations. How is it written? Our telephone calls, are we cordial? Are we polite while making calls? You know, especially for those in sales, not only in sales, because every worker is an embodiment of the organization. We should be able to sell our organization through our communication effort. So these are the various areas we will look at. How do we communicate to make it simple, to make it understandable, to make it believable? You know, these are things we need to know, and we shall treat them effectively as we go on in the course of these of this program. The other thing we shall look at essentially is the external communications which an organization engages in. We have those here, the organization engages in this with, you talk about the shareholders, you talk about the customers, you talk about the contractors, you talk about the buying public. These are members of the external publics, and there must be an effective way for that organization to communicate with them. Yeah, the basic ways may be through the sales team, through the letters, like we've noted, through the advertising messages, through our public relations, through our brochures, our calendars, what we put out on social media. All these are very different ways through which we communicate externally. And of course, our external communication determines who we are. It tells people who we are. If our external communication is shabby, so to say, we will not be taken seriously as an organization. But if our external communication is perceived to be good, to be excellent, we'll be taken seriously by other organizations, by the competition, and then by our customers or publics. Essentially, you know, they will consider us as successful. They'll consider us as people you can do business with. And the most important thing is that external communication. Tied to this, which some organizations don't, not that they don't bother about it, they don't engage in it, is the measurement of feedback. It is very important in organizations to measure feedback, especially from external communication. Do we audit the kind of feedback we receive? An organization may be so big as it is, but without measuring the feedback, you find out that you're losing grounds to your competition. You're losing grounds to other brands in the categories if it's a marketing thing. You may even lose your staff as it is. So the measurement of feedback is important, and it comes as a consequence of what we communicate with the external public. So we thank you once again. This YouTube channel is called Communication Moments SMCR, and it's essentially, like I mentioned, that will be the anchor. And from all the knowledge I've gathered in years of teaching and of research, I will bring it to bear to desiring members who listen to this. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, you'll be pleased that you did. We will better our communication efforts personally, we'll better our communication efforts internally, and we'll better our communication efforts externally. Whether you're the CEO or you're the gate man, it doesn't matter. People don't see us, they see our organization. Please share this I'll be with you next time. Thank you very much.